Trust me that I understand the frustration and disappointment you're feeling right now as a beginner. I was obviously also a beginner at one stage and have also experienced all the same feelings that you're experiencing right now. So because I've experienced all the same frustrations as you have, I will clearly explain to you the best way to start lifting as a beginner, so you can get results, stay consistent, and get bigger and stronger than some of the people that are even bigger and stronger than you now. No matter how much you don't like the answer to the question of how to start lifting as a beginner, I don't care because I know you need to hear it. All you need is to slowly, progressively overload, which all it basically means is to do more work each and every session or every couple of sessions. Yes, it will take long, and yes, it will feel like you won't be getting anywhere. But let me tell you why it's the most important factor in determining your success. Imagine two scenarios. In the first one, you do what's right and work up slowly to where you want to be. So you be patient and get to your end goal mentally and physically healthy. And that sounds like a good plan, right? Of course it sounds good when you're mentally grounded and stable, but when you're frustrated and angry, it feels like you will do anything to get your goals faster. So imagine another scenario where you're constantly frustrated and angry. You're not patient anymore and you forget slow and consistent progress. You say to yourself that you're not seeing results or it's taking too long. So you go off your plan where you build up your muscle and strength slowly and consistently, and instead you jack the weight up. And of course when you start lifting more heavy, you're going to see some results. So you feel good about that, and so you jack the weight up even further and you start seeing more results. And of course that's a given when you start lifting heavier weights. So you start feeling good about yourself and jack the weight up even further, and you get injured. The frustration and anger you experienced, which then led you to jack the weight up, led you to get injured, which in turn will lead you to experience more frustration and anger. So be patient. So the first point to why slow progressive overload is so good is because it will be much better for you mentally and in your motivation than just jacking the weight or reps up whenever you feel like it. Because for example, one week you could be feeling fantastic and you could increase your bench press by 7.5 kg that week compared to your bench press from the week before. But then next week, say you didn't sleep that great and you were only able to increase your bench press by 2.5 kg. You will of course feel disheartened because you're making less than half the progress than you did last week. Whereas making small progress every single week to increase your bench press by say 2.5 kg will be much better for you, because it means you won't have dips and spikes of progress from week to week. And it means you will have consistent progress that ends up compounding, because adding 2.5 kg to 100 kg bench press will feel much better than adding 2.5 kg to 60 kilogram bench press. And I made the same mistake in a way, because when I started lifting and started benching, I thought that benching one plate would be a good starting point. But it was too heavy for me and I had too much of an ego to decrease that. So then I would try to add on little bits of weight onto a 60 kilogram bench press when I couldn't even bench 60 properly. And it led to me getting nowhere. And I ended up having to lower my bench back down to 40 kilograms and then work up from there. The second point is that slow and consistent progress will mean that you will not have setbacks, given that you are lifting correctly and recovering properly. And this is because slow and consistent progress means that you will always only slightly push yourself to beyond your strength levels, and not push yourself so far that you may not be able to recover or even hurt yourself. So you shouldn't push yourself too far beyond your strength levels, because it means you may hurt yourself or not be able to recover. So you need to find the right level between stimulus and rest, because too much rest and not enough stimulus will mean that there's no reason for your muscles to grow, and too much stimulus and not enough rest will mean that there isn't enough time and resources for your muscles to recover properly, grow stronger and get bigger. So an example of what this looks like to me is adding say 2.5 kg on one of your compound lifts every single week, or every other week when it gets too heavy, or maybe something like adding a rep every single session that you do that lift. And the third point is that slowly progressing will give you plenty of energy and focus to perfect small details. You will of course have some days where you're feeling great and the weights will move smooth like butter, and it's not so heavy that all of your focus is on how heavy the weight is. My example of this is when I started increasing my bench press slowly and consistently instead of jacking the weight up or lifting a weight I couldn't lift. And that meant there wasn't a huge load every single session, and I really had the energy and focus to perfect my bench press. So I perfected the tiny details like gripping the bar properly, having my shoulder blades down and retracted, bracing my core, tensing my glutes, and pushing through my feet. I know for a fact that I wouldn't have been able to get all of that down if all I focused on was how heavy I could lift every single session. The main thing to remember that the bench press, along with every other exercise, is a skill, and the more you practice a skill, the better you get at it. Take for example, imagine you were learning how to juggle. Are you going to practice juggling knives and bottles, for 5 hours a day to the point where you're so frustrated that you can't get it right and you may even hurt yourself. No, you will not. You will practice for 20 minutes a day, where you will end the practice satisfied and generally happy with what you achieved that day. And that's the same with the bench press. You're not going to lift so heavy where you're going to fail and hurt yourself. You're going to start small and build up from there. So what will you actually do in the gym? What you actually do in the gym is entirely up to you. But if you care more about hypertrophy than being strong, then you will do hypertrophy work with lighter weight and higher reps. And if you care more about being strong, you will do strength work with heavier weight and lower reps. Don't think that you can only train for strength or for hypertrophy. There is massive amounts of overlap, and all you can do is just favor your training to either favor one or the other. If you want to train for hypertrophy, you will mostly lift in the 8 to 12 rep range. So say you're doing leg press, you will pick a weight that you can perform for 8 reps for 3 sets. That also takes you relatively close to failure. Then moving up and doing 9 reps the following session, then 10, then 11, and then 12 in the sessions following the first one. And once you can do 12 reps, you will increase the weight and lower the reps back down to 8. And if you want to lift for strength, you will mostly lift in the 3 to 6 rep range. And say you choose to do squats, you will then pick a weight that you can perform for 3 reps for 4 sets that takes you relatively close to failure. Then moving up and doing 4 reps the following session, and then 5, and then 6 in the sessions following the first one. And once you can do 6 reps, you will increase the weight and lower the reps back down to 3. And that's nearly everything that you need to know as a beginner to keep making progress and not plateauing while doing so. You will of course slow down and start plateauing later on, but that is several years down the line and nothing beginner lifters need to worry about. And you will only keep making progress assuming that all the other factors that contribute to gaining strength and size are checked off. So you are eating enough protein, eating enough food in general, having long quality sleep, eating a balanced diet that includes vitamins and minerals, and not drinking or smoking. And now to get into some specifics that are very important. So if you're still watching this, it means you have a great advantage over everyone else who doesn't know any of this. Another thing that you need to know is volume, which is just the sum of the reps, sets, and weight of a given exercise. Basically, the specific calculation of how much work you actually do. So doing 5 reps for 5 sets at 100 kg of the deadlift will give a total volume of 2500. And it is important to include more sets in your strength work compared to your hypertrophy work, because of course you need to lift heavy to increase your strength, and because it's heavy it means you won't be able to lift it many times, so you increase the sets to raise the volume, and so you actually do enough work with that given weight. This is why I give the example of 3 sets in the hypertrophy example and 4 sets in the strength example. So say you deadlift 80 kg for 3 reps for 3 sets. This will give you a total volume of 1920, whereas doing the same weight for 3 sets but for 12 reps gives you a total volume of 2880, which is technically more total work done than doing 5 reps for 5 sets at 100 kg, like already mentioned. Also proving why you don't need to lift heavy to grow. And it is also important to know why your muscles grow stronger and bigger in the first place. And it is to adapt to the stimulus that is being placed on the muscle, which basically means that the muscles want to get used to the weight that you're lifting so it isn't heavy anymore. And this is because your body likes homeostasis, because the body doesn't like to use energy or effort unnecessarily. So for example, when you're lifting weights, it doesn't want to use up any effort in case you're in a life-threatening situation where you would need to fight or run, and it wants to save the energy that you have in case you're in a life-threatening situation where you're starting to starve. So the body adapts by growing stronger and bigger so that it actually doesn't require as much effort to lift a certain weight.